Coming up on this episode of One-on-One Sports.
We reminisce about the ABA.
And we discuss a sport I love talking about, lacrosse.
And there's something I'm forgetting here. Oh, right. We're done as hosts,
Right.
and we bring in the new ones.
All that and so much more.
And it all starts right now.
Welcome to One-on-One Sports. I'm your new host, Thomas Hale, joined by my co-host,
Cam Soselski. Now, Thomas, we've watched the show a time or two before.
maybe once or twice.
You know what time it is?
What time is it?
It's time for the starting five.
All right.
The Golden State Warriors may have beaten the Houston Rockets handily in Game 4, but that's not the real headline. At halftime, MVP guard Steph Curry left the game and did not return after spraining his right knee. His status is questionable for the next series. As the Warriors look to close this series out, can the Warriors get to the NBA Finals without Steph in the lineup?
See, I just don't think that can happen. Like, Steph's their guy. He's the MVP. He puts up so many points for that team. And then you got a team like the Spurs right behind them. They want it, and they're completely healthy right now.
I absolutely agree with you. This team is, you have two Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
You have the Golden State Warriors with Steph Curry in the lineup and
Exactly.
without Steph Curry in the lineup.
Completely different
And they're
teams.
completely different teams.
They
You
do
know,
well
he's
without
just-
him, but they need him if they want to win a championship.
And that's just such a testament to the player Steph has become. You know,
Yeah.
coming out of high school, he was not highly recruited. You know?
Exactly.
They saw him at Davidson, saw that talent, developed him.
They still don't really when he came out of Davidson, they didn't believe in him that much still, but now he's Steph Curry. He's
Yeah.
the guy, and he needs to be on this team if they want to win the finals.
Yeah, you know what? And he is peaking right now.
Yeah.
We are watching Steph Curry in the prime of his career,
Yep.
and I can't wait to see what else. Hopefully, he can get over this injury.
Hopefully. We'll see when he gets back. The Memphis Grizzlies' injury-riddled 2015-16 season is finally over after getting swept by the San Antonio Spurs. Now there are a lot of questions upcoming in the future of the grit and grind, including the futures of little players like Marc Gasol, Mike Conley, Zach Randolph, and Lance Stevenson. So with so many questions looming, where will the Memphis Grizzlies go from here?
You know what you got to do? You got to trust in your head coach,
Trust
David
in your-
Yorger. You know what? I would argue he was the coach, in the best coach in the NBA this season. He had
Think so.
28 players in his lineup throughout the course of the year.
Yeah.
That's an NBA record, and still put together a relatively successful squad.
The fact that they made the playoffs is incredible to me. I mean, you got Zach Randolph, he's pretty much about to retire soon. Marc Gasol gets injured, that's their guy, and Mike Conley too. Like, their whole team was injured, and they're here.
Yeah, you
It's
know what?
insane.
It was a revolving door this season, but the one constant was the coaching. So I think you
Yeah.
trust in Yorger, you trust in what he'll do, and you know, you give him the tools. He's got to have some tools,
Yeah.
some personnel around him, but I think he can develop and still,
Yeah.
you know, have a successful season
I
even without
personally
some of
think
these key
like,
guys.
they need to make some changes, though, because they've always been a really solid team. Memphis Grizzlies are great, but if they want to take that next step, this offseason, they got to do something. They can't keep same every year.
Yeah, the
7,
front
8
office
seed.
needs to help out Yorger.
Yeah.
Incredible coach, but he's got to have the tools as well.
Exactly.
Recently, the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals reinstated the 4-game suspension leveled against Patriots quarterback Tom Brady last year in the infamous Deflategate scandal. One full season later, is this the end of the most, pun intended, overinflated controversy in all sport, and what kind of standard does this set moving forward?
I think that this is the end. Thankfully, it's about time. We've been hearing about this all year. Just saying every news story is about Deflategate. So yeah, this is about time to wrap it up. As far as in the future, I mean, it just kind of makes you worry. What can these guys on the sidelines do?
Yeah.
Obviously, they may have cheated and all that, but still, people are going to be a little concerned over how big of a punishment they're going to get nowadays.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think if they uphold the suspension again,
again.
I think people will move on. But it does make it kind of interesting when you have these cheating scandals in sports, you know,
Right.
going right off the bat into a
Yeah.
court of law to decide it instead of the
Yeah.
leagues deciding it by
It
themselves.
might make the Supreme Court, which would be insane for a sports case.
Yeah, groundbreaking.
With their 4-0 win over Swansea City on Sunday, Leicester City FC needs only 5 points from their final 3 games to clinch the Barclays Premier League title. The English Football Club came into the season at a ridiculous 3,000-to-1 odds to win the Barclays Premier League. If they do win it all, should this be considered the greatest Cinderella story of all time?
Absolutely not. I don't think you can go out and say that.
Think about it long term, though. Leicester in 2009, they were in one of the worst leagues in England. 5 years later, they bump up to Barclays, and they were about to get relegated last season. They were in 14th place. Now they're about to win the championship.
You know what? I don't care who makes these odds. You know, it's odds. It's odds. Nobody really
guess.
knows. That's why it's
But
called
it's
gambling.
happening.
That's why it's called gambling. You don't know what's going to happen. And
Ask any Leicester City fan, 35 years we're going to win the Barclays Premier League. All of them would have said no 5 years ago. No way, that's never going to
Well,
happen.
then they're not true fans. That's what I would argue.
I don't know.
But you know what? I just don't think, maybe greatest Cinderella story in the Barclays Premier League,
Mm-hmm.
but in all of sports, I'm thinking 1980 U.S. hockey team. I'm thinking
That's a
the
great one.
2007 Oklahoma Boise State Fiesta Bowl game,
Yeah, yeah.
Statue of Liberty.
Oh, that was such a good play.
I just don't think that you can give it to this team.
All right, okay.
UFC fighter Conor McGregor recently tweeted that he's back to headline UFC 200 in the highly anticipated match between him and Nate Diaz. Originally, McGregor made a surprise retirement announcement after getting into a dispute with UFC president Dana White. What does the scuffle mean for McGregor and for the UFC as a whole moving forward?
I just think that the UFC as an organization, like, this is just what they do. Like, it's guys fighting, they're beefing each other all the time, and they're arguing. Dana White, you know, he's not going to hold back what he wants to say. Conor McGregor's definitely not.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I think it's fine, honestly.
I don't. I don't at all. No, I think we are witnessing right now the height of UFC.
Yeah.
And I see, with concussion problems, with stars, not really liking the management
Yeah.
in a sport
Do you think
like
it's a problem
UFC.
with White, though?
I think it is a problem with White. I
Yeah?
mean, obviously, he's a great businessman, great entertainer, knows how to make money off of this sport.
Yeah.
But I think if you're not thinking that the UFC is in trouble moving forward, then you're
They
just
definitely
ignoring
need,
the
like,
facts.
just a new star or something to come in and just sweep the sensation over.
And I think it's bigger than UFC, though. I think, boxing has taken a hit. Wrestling has
These
taken a
fighting
hit.
sports in general. really,
Exactly.
yeah.
And maybe that goes back to a change in U.S. culture where we're not trying to see guys get killed anymore.
Yeah. It's
as,
brutal out
as
there.
entertainment. And with concussions, I just think UFC is on the downturn.
All right.
Well, that's it for our first starting five, but don't go anywhere. Coming back, I sit down with Connor Del Pree to discuss NCAA lacrosse. Just around the corner, the 2016 NCAA lacrosse playoffs, and look who decided to stop by. None other than our resident lacrosse expert,
about
Connor
time.
Del Pree.
It's about time.
Now, Connor, we're going to need some predictions for this postseason, starting off with your team to beat this
Right.
year.
My team to beat is the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Look, there might be some worries after this UNC game last week where they blew a 7-goal lead, ended up losing, but I was at that game, and what I saw in the first 3 quarters reassured me that this is the team to beat. Matt Cavanaugh is a seasoned veteran now. He's got 15 goals, 21 assists. That's 36 goals for those of you counting back at home. And then
go.
you got Sergio Pekovic up top in the midfield. This guy is 220 pounds of pure beast mode. I'm telling you, this guy has improved every single year. He's ready to take the big stage once the tournament comes around.
No,
The
you
team to
look
beat.
up and down their lineup. They are just a physically dominant squad who are going to
Absolutely.
just, power and pound teams into submissions. They also have very nice shiny gold helmets. Love to
Can't
see
hurt.
those. Now, kind of transitioning, who is your dark horse team this year?
My dark horse here is the Johns Hopkins Blue Jays. Look, Dave Petramala always has his team ready to go come postseason time. And this year is no different. Ryan Brown is coming in with the 12th most goals scored this year. He's an absolute beast up top. And then Shaq Stanwyck, a tear is rolling down my eye right here when I think about the last Stanwyck to come through and play college lacrosse. He happens to play at Hopkins. He happens to be a fantastic player as well, anchoring that attack. And I wouldn't underestimate the Blue Jays. They have an 8-4 record, but they've had one of the toughest schedules this year. I wouldn't want to put any team through the schedule that they had. They survived. They'll be there come tournament time, and they're going to make a deep run.
Well, and you look historically, Johns Hopkins arguably one of the most successful teams
Yep,
in history in
absolutely.
terms of college lacrosse, and they will certainly be ready to play again this year.
Yep.
Now, to close this out, what is your dream championship game?
My dream championship is Brown and Yale this year. Look, Brown comes in the highest scoring offense in the nation, 17 goals a game. That's 3 more than the next team below them. And Dylan Malloy, this guy is the Steve Nash of lacrosse. He has 43 assists this year. That's absolutely unbelievable. And Yale, on the other side, surprised everyone this year. Came out with a potent offense, a stingy defense that allows barely 8 goals per game. And of course, you can't shy away from the Ivy League matchup that we have here. It kind of defies the stereotypes of historical lacrosse matchups. You look at, it's always been Hopkins, Syracuse, Notre Dame, teams like that are always in the championship. This is going to get people, I think, from that area more interested in lacrosse, which is something that
Absolutely.
college lacrosse
Yeah.
could always use. It's a growing game everywhere. It just needs a little bit more attention. Come tournament time, I think this matchup could be a really, really exciting one. And they played already earlier in the year. 14-12 win for Brown is a shocker. It actually was, Yale was undefeated at the time. Brown comes in, beats
Well,
them.
whenever you're talking about those Ivy League teams, you're always talking about great rivalries, and that would
Absolutely.
certainly be a very
Absolutely.
entertaining game to watch.
Absolutely.
The tournament is not for a few weeks, but this block is done. Up next, Thomas sits down with Stephen Harris to talk some throwback NBA. You won't want to miss this.
Wow, these are really good. You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
No thanks, Dad. I got it.
Okay. I'm gonna go fix the lamp in your room.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of children in foster care who will take you just as you are.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your closet. Still no jobs, just more stuff? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
Danse, balance la cadence, ondule bien tes hanches, au bal du dimanche.
You didn't give up on sex. Don't give up on birth control either. There are more methods than you think. Find yours at bedsider.org.
I don't know what's happening. Start a new chat. What did I do? Okay. Wow. That is so weird.
Hey! Hi!
Oh my gosh. Hi! God, I don't even know what to say right now. I'm so nervous. Gia, you're so big. Come closer to the camera. Wait, now you're in my face. That was so good.
The NBA playoffs are in full swing as teams fight their way to earn title of best team in the league. So we at One-on-One Sports were wondering, what are some of the best teams in basketball history that don't exist anymore? I'm here with our beloved NBA expert, Stephen A. Harris, to talk about his top 3 defunct teams. So, Stephen, tell me about the first one.
All right, so the first team is the Kentucky Colonels. This is an old ABA team.
I haven't heard of any of these teams you got down, so I'm excited.
All right, well then get ready for a history lesson there, my
let's see
friend.
it.
The Kentucky Colonels were founded in 1967, and in their inaugural season went 36-42.
Okay.
And that was the only losing record they ever had in the history
So-
of their
they're
organization.
good.
So they were pretty good. They were pretty
Pretty
good. They never once didn't make it to the playoff semifinals. Even in their inaugural season, they made it to the playoff semifinals, and they won the 1975 ABA title.
Gee whiz.
And they had to go through the the New York Nets at the
Okay.
time, which at the time
Were
were
those
the
guys good?
Warriors of today, the Bulls of the 90s. They were the dominant team because they were led by my man, the
boy,
doctor,
the
Julius
doc.
Irving. And they had to get through that.
Yeah.
And they were regulars. They were playoff regulars. The Kentucky Colonels were the San Antonio Spurs before the San Antonio
So
Spurs were
what
the San
happened to them?
Antonio
They
Spurs.
just- they're like, "Oh."
Unfortunately, they were a victim of the NBA merger because,
Right.
of course, only 4 teams made it through, the Pacers,
How did they
the
not make
Spurs,
it
and the
then?
Nuggets. That's why I call this an injustice. The Kentucky Colonels should have been there because what is one thing that everyone loves to watch or hates and will still watch because they want to wait them lose?
Kentucky basketball.
Consistency. Everyone loves to
okay,
watch
okay.
consistency, or they hate to watch them and love to watch them lose.
And that's the Spurs.
So that's what the Spurs are today,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
what the Kentucky Colonels were today. Could you imagine only one time getting a losing record and
Yeah.
it being your inaugural season? Because
Yeah.
the very next season,
Yeah.
they were 2 games over 500, and it was an amazing time.
All right. Let's move on. Tell me about your second team.
So my second team is a current NBA team. It
Okay.
was the Sacramento Kings back in the day, the Cincinnati Royals. And the
Right.
most of the reason why I picked this team is because Cincinnati had a great time. Because unlike the Kings of today,
Yeah.
the Cincinnati Royals were playoff regulars as well.
the time.
They had guys like the big Oh, I mean, they had guys coming in. They had Bob Cousy playing for them at one
Bob,
point.
come on now.
They had a whole list of names that we saw donning the light blue Cincinnati Royals jersey.
Oh, I remember
Plus,
the Kings had
there's-
that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
okay.
that's where those jerseys come
Okay,
from. It's those
okay.
old Cincinnati Royals jerseys, and they kind of flipped them into Kings jerseys. And there's one thing that we would all love to watch, and that we know plenty of people would love to watch, and that's an
Right.
Ohio rivalry, because
Yeah.
Cleveland has a history of not winning things.
And it'd be so funny to
and
see
Cincinnati
Cleveland
was always
fans
winning.
more upset than they
Exactly,
already
because
are.
they got another team in their backyard.
Exactly.
Always upset. Plus, Cincinnati, it's right on that Kentucky border. It's got that nice little,
yeah.
that little heat that comes with also, because if the Kentucky Colonels were still around, that would have been a nice little rivalry.
right.
Cincinnati would have been fighting for Ohio's love and Kentucky's love with the Colonels and the Cavs.
You think they could have gotten both?
all
They
the
were so
time.
good.
They could have, maybe. I don't know. The Kentucky Colonels. We just talked about how great they
True,
were.
yeah,
So they might
yeah,
not have been able to get
So
Kentucky.
what happened to what happened to the Cincinnati team?
Eventually, they just had to move.
Yeah.
You know, they got caught. Cincinnati's not a very big market, so
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
they kind of went west.
Okay.
You know, they went west, Johnny Boy, for the
All
gold
right.
rush.
Now tell me about your final team. Give me
My
one
final
more.
team is a team that they were only around for 2 years.
Okay.
That's it. They only existed for 2 years. It was
you
the
love them.
Spirits of St. Louis.
Spirits.
I love them so much. We've all seen that 30 for 30
a good one.
documentary. It is a great documentary. Marvin Barnes was
about
the
him.
next great one. He was supposed to be the next great one. His antics were amazing.
Yeah.
This guy missed the plane to go to a game.
Okay.
He missed the team plane and then just chartered his own plane, got a cab, stopped at McDonald's on his way to the game,
Just
showed up like 10 minutes before game time,
Yeah.
walked up to his coach and went, I need $100 for the cab or I'm gonna get arrested, so you need to cover that. And then they just did it. He benched him for the game for the first half of the game, but
Okay.
this guy was so good that he had to come back, had one of the greatest halves basketball has ever seen,
What'd
and
he do?
led his team. This guy got 40-plus points. He got a double-double in just a half of basketball.
Jeez.
And he was just pulling off these antics. Marvin Barnes was such an amazing show to watch,
Right.
especially in the ABA, because they were another team that fell victim.
Yeah. Do you think he could have made the NBA?
Oh, he tried to make the NBA. Unfortunately, he just couldn't catch his miss because back then the NBA was a little bit more old school, a little bit more clean cut. You know what I mean? No one really liked the ABA and their rainbow ball. No one really liked that. So this guy was a perfect ABA guy. But there's no doubt in my mind that his talent could have taken him anywhere. Plus his show, if people just let Marvin Barnes just do Marvin, I mean, this guy was Manny Ramirez before Manny Ramirez. It was let Marvin
your guy, it
do
sounds
Marvin.
like. You
And this
love this
guy
guy.
was amazing. I love to watch old highlights of this guy. I watched that 30 for 30 on
many
him
times.
over and over and
gotta
over
watch that
again
again soon,
because that's what I'm saying. I mean,
wanna
I'm
do that?
always down to watch a little bit of that because
Let's
I
do
just
that.
want to watch Marvin Barnes. I want to watch Marvin.
I'm
be
becoming a
Marvin.
fan now just because of how enthusiastic you are about him.
Exactly. That's why these teams need to come back, man. They need to come back.
Maybe one day we will.
They need to give St. Louis a team back. They need to give
I think
the
they should
Spirits.
too. All right. Well, after that walk through NBA history, we're going to be right back as Cam takes it us with Elizabeth Benjamin to talk about some figure skating.
We now take to the ice, not for hockey, but instead for figure skating. Local figure skating enthusiast Elizabeth Benjamin is joining me now. Now, Elizabeth, just got a couple questions for you about figure skating in the United States right now. So to kick us out, who is the face of female figure skating in the United States right now?
Probably from more of a bystander's perspective, I'm going to go with the Golden Girl, Gracie Gold.
There you go.
Not only is she well known for her name, it's pretty stands out a lot, but she's the two-time U.S. national champion. She won the team bronze in the 2014 Olympics, and she's only 20 years old, so she's definitely a name we're going to keep seeing in the future. She only gets better and better, so.
Well, and with a name like Gold,
exactly.
how can you not be successful?
She's the Golden Girl, you
All
know.
right, so now let's transition. Who's the face of male figure skating?
This one was hard for me. I'm going to say Adam Rippon. He's the 2016 U.S. national champion, and he came in 6th at Worlds. He's known for his signature move. It's called the Rippon Lutz, which is it's a triple Lutz with both of his arms like above his head, which is different. And something cool this year too, he's skating both his short program and his long program to rock music, which is pretty different.
Pretty
for
non-traditional,
figure
yeah.
skating.
But
Yeah.
I mean, a guy like him, he could probably pull that off.
Exactly.
So to close us out in terms of the face, how about the pair? Give us a pair.
I'm going to go with, they're called the Shib Sibs, Alex and Maya Shibutani. They're brother and sister ice dancing duo. They finally won the U.S. Nationals this year for the first time after skating together for over 12 years. And they were the 2016 World Silver medalists as well, and they're just very, like, bubbly personalities. I know Alex, when he was at the Olympics, would go around interviewing other Winter Olympic athletes, and they're both just very good role models on and off the ice.
Well, and I'm sure they've been skating for years and years together,
Exactly.
as brother and sister. So now, kind of transitioning, let's talk about somebody who's up and coming in the sport in America.
So this is a guy you would like because he was a former hockey player.
There you go, yep.
So his name's Max Aaron. He actually stopped playing hockey because of injuries, but he was a really good, powerful skater. So they told him, "Oh, you should try out figure skating," and worked out. He was the 2013 national champion. He came in he had the 4th best score ever in nationals this year for the short program, and he's a name you're definitely going to keep seeing. He's a very powerful skater, has a lot of jumps, very athletic. He does need to work on some of his gracefulness, but being a hockey player,
Exactly, it's a little bit more grit, but it is crazy how many hockey players, figure skaters kind of transition. Jeff Skinner for the Carolina Hurricanes actually used to be a figure skater as well, and obviously he's doing pretty well.
Exactly, and Charlie White, the ice dancer as well.
Exactly. So to close us out, who had the best routine this year, in your opinion?
I'm going to say Ashley Wagner, her long program at Worlds. She came in 2nd, but she was the first American woman to medal at Worlds in over 10 years, so that was a pretty big feat. And she was very confident. She landed all of her jumps, and they were very difficult. It was a triple axel, triple lutz, triple salchow. She landed everything. She was very smooth and graceful as well, and all of her spins were very well executed. And her program was fun, She was wearing a rhinestone dress and skating to Moulin Rouge. So.
Yeah, I think figure skating is one of those sports. It's a fun sport,
Exactly.
People love that. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
That's all for this block, but don't go anywhere. An NFL draft preview with Thomas, Connor, and Rajat is coming up next.
Separate raw meats from other foods by using different cutting boards. 3,000 Americans will die from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay, so who's gonna do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
It's that time of the year again. The NFL draft is on Thursday, and it looks to be loaded with players from the ACC and SEC conferences. I've got our experts, Rajat Agarwal and Connor Cummings, here to tell us some of the best position players from these conferences. So let's kick it off, fellas. Rajat, defensive end.
Defensive end from the SEC, I'm going to go with Ole Miss. Robert Ndici. I know he's got some off-the-field issues, but in terms of pure talent, this guy's a top 5 guy.
Yeah.
He's got the size, his best game of the year against top-notch competition, Alabama.
Yeah.
Six tackles, 1 sack. This guy can flat out play a huge combine. Great time to impress the scouts, obviously.
Athlete.
I don't think you can get a better pure talent than Robert Ndici.
Yeah, I think he's got great talent, but I think it's gone to his head a little bit. He was the #1 overall player coming out of his draft class from high school. But so his attitude is a little bit off. I'm going to go with someone who's known for his work ethic. Shaq Lawson out of Clemson led the nation this year, 25.5 tackles for loss. He's known for exploding off the line. Real professional attitude. He's probably going to go in the top 15 picks this year.
The issue I have with Shaq Lawson is he's obviously good at exploding through the offensive line, but when the runner gets past him, disengaging from tackles has been an issue for him. And I don't know if it's his speed or just his reaction time, but he has a hard time chasing down runners, and that can cost you yardage, especially in the NFL.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's switch it over to offense, guys. Connor, give me your top wide receiver right now.
I'm going to go Tyler Boyd out of Pitt.
Okay.
He's had 1,000 yards receiving each of the last 3 seasons. And he doesn't have the touchdown numbers, but he is somebody who runs almost picture-perfect routes and really picks up that possession when the team needs it.
Yeah, I think that'll be an issue you hit on it, is the numbers. Can you get the numbers at Pitt? Will he ever be able to get those numbers that really can impress the scouts? I would go with go back to Ole Miss.
Okay.
Laquan Treadwell, a huge playmaker, obviously had the injury last season, a huge season this year. Has got, we talked about it a little bit earlier, kind of Des Bryant-ish, Justin Blackman-ish.
Yeah.
Huge hands, can go meet the ball in the air and really snag the ball from a cornerback, and I think his upside is just so big. He doesn't have great times in the combine because he doesn't run well in terms of just numbers working out. But in game time, exactly, game time, that guy can fly down the field.
That's what matters, though.
That's what matters.
Exactly. All right, one more thing. We're going to go to cornerbacks. So, Rajat, what do you got for us?
Cornerbacks, a lot of cornerbacks this year, very deep in the SEC. The best one is probably Vernon Hargreaves from Florida. It's difficult to come into the SEC and really have an impact your freshman year, and Vernon Hargreaves did that. I mean, right off the bat, his freshman year had a huge impact at Florida. Obviously playing against top-notch offenses, some of the best running backs, a great tackler, and just an all-around great knack for the ball. Yes, he is undersized at 5'10", similar to Joe Hayden, though, and Joe Hayden obviously very successful in the NFL.
Okay.
Well, I think the most pro-ready cornerback out of the ACC is probably Mackenzie Alexander out of Clemson. I'm going to have to go with the best overall prospect, Jalen Ramsey out of Florida State.
Okay.
He's been a starter all 3 years as well, starting as a freshman. The first freshman to start at cornerback since Deion Sanders at Florida State.
Good company.
Wow. He doesn't have the interception totals. He's only had 3 interceptions in his career, but this year he had 38% completion percentage against him. Combine that with the athletic ability, you can't top that.
Yeah, and all around, I mean, he might be one of the best players in the entire draft. But my issue with him is his instinct sometimes. He's playing against younger quarterbacks, so he's able to jump on the ball. And he's able to try to read the quarterback. And I think in the NFL it's a little bit harder when they can fool you with some pump fakes and stuff like that.
So we got a lot to see from these guys in the future, huh?
A lot.
Prospects.
A lot of potential.
Well, that's all we got for us for right now. But don't go away, as we got one more final send-off from Connor and Steven.
Well, Steven, it's been a fantastic year as the host. We've been here since day one, essentially, 4 years ago. We joined one-on-one. So what have been some of your favorite memories from this organization?
Well, I know that I'm feeling a little sentimental because I'm wearing the first tie that I ever wore, my first ever one-on-one blog. But some of my favorite memories was just one of the guys I call a mentor for myself, Greg Brzezowski, the resident tall guy back in the day. He was a senior when we were freshmen, and I remember one of the first blocks I ever did was the top 5 players of the early 2000s. And I did it with him as kind of a coaching for some of the freshmen. Some of the seniors took on some of the freshmen. So that was probably one of my most precious memories. I was actually just talking to him about it 2 days ago. So that's probably one of my favorite memories. And having a mentor like Greg Brzezowski is someone that is a great memory I have.
Mentorship is certainly something that's big in this organization. Hopefully continues after we leave. I have 2 quick ones. The NFL live draft show was fantastic. I played the role of Roger Goodell. It gave us 8 hours of live television. That's the great thing about this organization is it gives you real-world experience. And then my last memory is my first meeting with one-on-one. I was a freshman who came in, stats major, didn't really know what I wanted to do, didn't really know a lot of people at Elon. One-on-one kind of like provided like the little family like core that I really needed to start out my college career, and it was fantastic. And there's nothing better coming on every week and talking about sports.
I always remember that first little meeting down in the McEwen Theater where Matt Curry and Greg Brzezowski were leading, and I was just so intimidated because there was Matt Curry, this guy that looks like a bear, and Greg Brzezowski, this guy who's
very tall,
little tall, skinny guy, and I'm like, all right, what am I getting myself into? Yeah. Ever since then, like you said, it had brought that family element that we really needed.
Absolutely, been a fantastic semester with you, Steven.
Of course, you too, Connor. That's all we have for this season of One-on-One Sports.
Huge thanks to the producers, crew, and the seniors that are coming here behind me now for putting this show on, and to you, the viewer, for tuning in.
If you missed anything, or you just missed us over the summer, please make sure to check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram at One-on-One Sports. For all of us here at One-on-One Sports, thanks for watching, and as always,
whose side are you on?